Welcome into another episode of the Patriots Hub podcast. After the Patriots beat the Falcons 24-23, Alex Barth along with David Andrews, keeper of the light, bell ringer, David Andrews. How was that experience?
Yeah, it was cool. I enjoy, my oldest is kind of getting to the age of, hopefully remembering some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And, he was very fired up. His highlight of his day was probably seeing Hunter Henry, Ace Hunter's son is about Ford's age and they're good friends. And so he was really fired up, and the whole game was like, where's Ace's dad at? So that was, that's cool. Hunter's a, great player, obviously, and a good friend of mine. So that was funny to kind of like see him like be all in on Hunter. And, but then also frustrating when he was like, where's Hunter? I'm like looking on the sideline. There's a game happening. I have no idea what's happening. So I had to watch it this morning. But look, you said it. There was a lot of bad yesterday, but the most important thing, you said it, is they won.
Yes.
That's all that matters. And look, no matter how this season goes at the end of the year, this stays in the win column. And look, if the season keeps going good and things keep progressing, then you're not going to worry about this win, And I think sometimes in the NFL, we get so wrapped up in the game and week to week, and it is such a week to week thing. Like, teams come out and look really good, and then they look really bad. Detroit goes and plays Minnesota, and they look bad last week. And there's all these.
The Falcons got pumped by a bad Miami team last week.
Yeah, Falcons get pumped, and then you get Steelers. Who did the Steelers?
They beat the Colts.
They beat the Colts. Colts looking like one of the best teams in football. The Packers get beat. Like, this is just the NFL. It is a week-to-week basis. And sure, you've got your top dogs and your teams you think, but only thing that matters is Sunday at 1 o'clock or whenever the game is. Like, all the other stuff, power rankings, who has it doesn't matter. It comes down to execution each week. And this week, there was some really good execution, and then there was some really bad execution. And like I said, you can sit there and be negative and nitpick it, which, we'll get into. But at the end of the day, the most important thing that happened yesterday is they won the football game.
I thought Mike Vrabel said it really well after the game in his post-game press conference. He said, it's a funny league, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit. I don't know the exact quote, but it was like, we're going to have to keep learning from winning so we don't have to learn from losing.
Yes.
And
you would rather learn from winning than learn from losing.
I almost feel like, in a sense, that's I don't want to say the ideal game for a coach, but you get the win. So that box is checked, but you get to go in today and there's a ton to work on and there's a ton of points of emphasis to get better.
No. And I've probably said it on here before, sometimes Mondays were better after a tough fought loss versus a tough fought or a bad win. I would say this was a bad win. There was some bad football yesterday. But you go and you fight a team tooth and nail, and you just come up short. Sometimes coaches attack those corrections a little bit differently versus, hey, we left 14 points out there. The game could have been 24-28-7.
Yeah.
And you get the ball at half, versus going in at half 14-21. So, it's. I think Mike Tomlin said it. There's a fine line in the NFL between smashing grapes and drinking wine. And I heard that this morning on ESPN watching the tape, and I was like, that's a good line. And it's true. It's such a fine line between winning and losing in this game. And to be able to win and be able to correct it, that's what's important. And it's learning how to win. And look, you're going to have nasty wins sometimes.
You need it over a 17-game season. You need to win some of these.
And look, they might come out next week, and hopefully they're a can of kick-ass. And whatever happens in the game happens. And that's what you want to do. You want to get better each week. And look, the way they've been playing, there was going to be one of these type of games where they don't play as good. Right. And that was still a good football team they beat in the Falcons. It wasn't the 1-7.
It's
whoever.
A step up in competition from the Browns, Titans, and Saints.
Yes. So that's the most important part.
So let's go, before we get to some of those corrections, I think it's easiest to go through this game chronologically, just the way it played out. And we're coming in talking about corrections. The big correction going into that game, everybody talked about, like, hey, if they can start fast against this team, they'll be in good shape. Both sides of the ball, starting fast. Defense gets a 3-and-out. Caleb Von Chason with the sack. Back to the offense, 10 plays, 75 yards. I actually want to go to the end of that drive first to get your thoughts. The touchdown to Pop, the design for McDaniels to huddle in 21 personnel, put Pop in the backfield, West over the fullback out wide. That's how useful can those sorts of plays be? Do you think we'll see more of that stuff from McDaniels moving forwards?
Well, really, when you get guys comfortable in the offense, right, and you can do different things where you're not changing the personnel, really.
Yeah.
But you're aligning people in different positions for mismatches, and it makes defenses communicate to each other, right? Which is anytime you force people to communicate, whether it's the offensive line communicating blitz looks, it just adds another factor of them messing something up, right?
Right.
And, it's not something they see a lot. Like, sure, putting Travion Henderson out wide. I cannot say his name right for some reason. Putting him out wide, like, that's a wrinkle, but it's you've done that a bunch, right?
Yeah.
But when you're able to do different things, it just creates matchups and it creates mismatches, whether now you're making him on a linebacker. That's a hard mismatch. And, we used to do different things with, like, Julian, right? And putting Julian places and, all right, we'll put James Devlin out wide, make your corner cover him. Now Julian's on a linebacker on a juke route. Like, good luck. So being able to do that from an offensive standpoint, one, now other teams are looking at that. And then two, it just, like I said, it creates these mismatches. It creates problems for defenses. And when defensive coordinators turn on the tape, it's like, how are we going to handle this? And it might not come up for another 3 weeks, but now they've got a problem.
They got to spend time on that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, for, like you said, the first half for 29 minutes and 30 seconds, it was really good football.
Yeah.
Or 28 seconds, I guess it would be. And, fast start, complimentary football, scoring. And then at that 32-second mark, something happened. And they couldn't dig themselves out of it a little bit. But like you said, we been on that and they corrected it. So it is such a week-to-week thing, and hopefully, that's what keeps building with this football team.
So then you get to that drive at the end of the second half, the end of the first half. It looks like they're going to have a chance for double score, already up 21-7.
They're in great position. Midfield, 32 seconds. I forget the timeouts. The coach's film doesn't show that.
I don't remember.
They probably at least had one or two.
The Titans had one, too. The Patriots had none, I remember, because
they had none because they had challenges, or
because
they had a challenge in the second half.
So they had a couple going into that drive. Okay. They used them before the fumble, and I remember thinking, because there was that weird review about whether or not Pop got the first down, and I remember thinking, if I'm the Falcons, I might rate because there's 32 seconds left. It doesn't matter if they got the first down or not. And this is a free timeout for the Patriots. Instead, it kills the momentum. Drake Maye, the kind of turnover we saw from him at times last year, trying to stiff arm a defender off of him. And like you said, it felt like, it was the first time there was nervous energy in that building for a while. And it felt like the offense never got past that. Maye's done a really good job of bouncing back from the few mistakes he has made this year. Didn't do it in that instance. And I think some of it, to a point I know you were focused on, the offensive line maybe never gave him a chance to settle down because he was under pressure constantly.
He was under, and this has become now, I would say, an issue.
Okay.
He is the most sacked quarterback in the league. You see what happens to Jaden Daniels last night with the elbow. Like that, and obviously Jaden's kind of been in and out of the lineup, the first 8 weeks of the year, right? And so now you're seeing that. And as a fan, I'm like, oh my gosh, this could happen to our guy at any time. And now your season,
right?
They are franchise quarterbacks for a reason. And so he's been sacked so much. I will give the Falcons a lot of credit. And not every team is going to be able to replicate what the Falcons did. The Falcons are very good defense. What they did, which caused a lot of problems, they were able to rush five people on the rush. And what that does, obviously now you eliminate a free player on the offensive line, which the free player a lot of times is a center, but depending on the rush structure, like could be guards, tackles, whoever it is. But when you do that, now you're able to create push. You're able to eliminate some escape lanes. And then, in saying that, you got to have good coverage to back it up, which the Falcons do. They have one of the best cover defenses in the league and secondaries. So that makes it really hard on the quarterback because they're playing man-to-man a lot of times. No one's open. Now you're getting pushed. You don't have anywhere to go. So a lot of his sacks, not all of them, but some of them, he's feeling this push. It's not free runners. Now the fumble was a free runner. They ran a TE on the right side. We don't pass it. It's one where, as a quarterback, like,
you just got to eat it.
Eat it in the game with a kick. Like, the drive's over with at that point. If you had no timeouts, it was 1st and 10. Like, let the clock run out, and you go to the half with the ball.
And he said that after the game too. That he should have fallen on that.
On that play, hat off to Will Campbell. Granted, Falcons were able to score, but his effort chasing that ball down, getting the guy down, like, it gives your defense a chance to go make a stop.
Mike Vrabel said after the game, like, over the course of a season, you make plays like that, you'll keep points off the board.
Exactly.
So
hats off to him. I really enjoyed seeing that effort and competitiveness out of him. But going back to these sacks, like, it just, a lot of them were, he's stepping up and there's nowhere to go because of the 5-man pressure. Or it's getting pushed. The coverage is good, nowhere to go with the ball, and then he's getting tripped up and pushed down. So, and then obviously the other fumble coming out of half, which, this is what I think this team's done a really good job of in the last few weeks is, making a mistake and then it's over with and they move on.
Right.
That didn't seem to be the case,
No.
Because it was, fumble at the half, fumble to start the second or third quarter, second half, then the interception. Like, it just kind of compounded on them, which that's not good. And that stuff is things that will get you beat.
On the pass rush as a whole, just big picture. So they go against the Browns last week. Myles Garrett, generational player. Atlanta has been, by a number of metrics, the best pass rush in the league this year. Fastest time to pressure.
Their DC is a really good coordinator. He was with the Jets, when I was playing with him, and had a lot of respect for a lot of things he does. And they do a lot of things defensively that make it hard, run stunts, different things. And like I said, when you've got that good of secondary and you can rush 5 people, it makes it really hard.
Do you think there's an element to this? Like, it's not going to get harder for them up front in terms of, I mean, Tampa's not bad, right? So they got a challenge there, but how much of what we're seeing is maybe teams figuring out what they're doing and how much of it is just a step up in competition in the defensive fronts they're facing?
To me, when I looked at it, it wasn't like schematically issues. Like, there was a lot of times they handled some of the pressure. They threw like the big play to Pop, like slid the protection the right way, got through everybody. It was a load front, so that means there's 3 defensive linemen on, one side, which it was the left side. Blitzer off that side. You got to push through those guys to get the blitzer. They did a good job of it. It was a great pocket. Drake made people hurt. So to me, looking at it, it's not like, man, they don't know who to block. They don't know, they're getting out-coached in the sense of, like, that was a great blitz and they, free runners. It's more about execution. And so in saying that, you got to give a, tip of the cap to the competition they're playing. But, like, also, like, you got to do better. And I see some of that in the run game too. Like, the competition's getting better and teams are getting better, but there's flashes of good in the run game, just like there are in the passing game, pass protection. Like, there's flashes of them doing it really good. And, coming out of the second half, first drive, like, there was some good runs in there, and the scoring drive to Terrell Jennings, like, getting down in the red area, big run, pounded in from 4 yards, 3 yards, whatever it was. Like, there was a lot of good, but when it's bad, it's really bad. And it's a consistency thing, I think. And look, the passing game all ties together. Like, you got to get rid of the ball, and some of that goes back to the coverage. Like, the O-line could block better, but also you you got to get rid of the ball at the same time and work together and understanding that. So I always look at the passing game, and maybe this is just the offensive line in me. You got to take ownership of it, right?
Right.
But the truthfulness of it is that it's all tied together. And so, like, the strip sack at the end of the half, like, that's all in the O-line. Drake didn't have a shot. Like, granted, yeah, he could have just eaten the sack, but in the protection scheme, like, they got beat on a TE. It's a DN running straight ahead. Like, it doesn't matter. He didn't have 4 seconds back there, 3 seconds. Like, that one, is like obvious on the O-line. Some of it is like, I'm sure the coaches are like, hey, like, this one we got to try to get rid of the ball. Like, get it to an outlet, whatever it may be. And, it all ties in together. And obviously that's what made, Tom Brady, guys like Patrick Mahomes, really good at times. Like, their time to throw is very quick. And
be your own best pass protector.
Exactly. Like, Tom understood that sometimes. And, but at the same time, when we had to hold up our end of the bargain, we have to hold up our end of the bargain. So it all ties together. Like I said, and look, obviously when your quarterback's the most sacked in the league as an O-lineman, that's not on him. Like, you got to do a better job. We got to do a better job up front trying to fix this and protect the guy.
What'd you make of Maye's day as a whole? This is a Falcons defense that hadn't allowed more than 205 passing yards in a game. That was 2 last week. He goes for 250, throws for the 2 touchdowns, puts the ball on the ground twice, throws the interception. With what he's done, like we had talked about, he was playing at an insane pace. It wasn't sustainable. He was going to have some sort of step back down game eventually. They win his down game, which is encouraging. Right. But what did you make of that performance overall?
To me, it's not the interception. Like, that to me, if I was Drake, sure, yes, you wanted that play back, right? But to me, like, those are going to happen. Like, the route is very similar to what he did to Hooper or hit Hooper on last week, but this week it was middle field closed. So that means there's a safety in the middle of the field. Hunter breaks his route off, which he's supposed to do, and Drake wants to hit Hunter early. That's not really, from my understanding, the design of the play. And that leads to the interception. So, like, that stuff happens at times. Some of that's probably a byproduct of him feeling the rush, not wanting to sit in there, trust it, go through his progression. But to me, it's not that play that, if I'm looking at it, I'm more concerned with is the putting the ball on the ground, because the fumble, like, eat it. Like we said, the next fumble coming out of half, he gets bumped, but no one really touches him. He just puts the ball on the ground.
Yeah.
Those are the plays that really will hurt you. And, look, interceptions like that over the middle of the field, like, is what it is. It's contained. Like, you see the fumble to end the half, like, a lot of those go for big plays. And, those are the ones, because linemen aren't chasing people down. And you get one of these DNs with the ball or a linebacker, and all he has to beat is the quarterback. Like, that's tough.
When Pierce celebrated at like the 15-yard line, which if he doesn't do that.
And I felt like when I was watching it, Will Campbell was like on him.
Will Campbell's already on him.
And he's like pointing like he's scoring. I'm like, dude, why don't you just go score?
So I saw somebody say he's reaching the ball forward because he knows he's going to get tackled. He's reaching for the goal line, but the ball's like up in the air.
It was strange.
Not to take anything away from Campbell's effort. Like, the fact he got there is impressive.
No,
but
Will did a great job.
You're not going to have guys celebrating at the 15-yard line every time.
When I look at Drake's day, like, it's those 2 plays to me. I don't fault him for some of the other stuff, like him getting sacked. And like we said, it is all tied together, but that's not his fault. Like, he's got to, the O-line, I'm kind of speaking out of both sides of my mouth here, because I'm looking at it from an O-lineman perspective where I take onus in anything that happens to the quarterback, no matter what. Like, even if he sits back there for 8 seconds, like, that's your job to protect him. But then also there's the bigger picture where, it is all tied in together. So
I think it's also, 6 sacks, there's going to be some variance. Yeah. It's not going to be just one thing.
He's not going to be comfortable. He's not going to feel good back there getting sacked 12 times in 2 weeks. Like, it and I felt like that watching him move in the pocket, like he hasn't looked as comfortable, and that's probably because of that. And you have to take onus as that as the offensive line.
What'd you think? You mentioned it there a little bit, but the run game as a whole, 2 good weeks. Felt like it wasn't as bad as the Saints game, but definitely not as good as it's been.
No, it's hit or miss right now.
Yeah.
And they're getting on the edge pretty good. I really like some of the stuff they're doing on the edge. Coming out of half, they hit a toss crack, they hit an outside zone where they seal the edge. And in the run game, a lot of times, like I think this team struggled in double teams, which has been interesting to me. And look, I don't know what they're being taught, how they're coached, and so I can't really give like a definitive answer on. And like I said, I know what I believe in from Dante and what when I'm coaching Foxborough Junior High in a couple of years, like what I'm going to teach. But, it's hard to comment on it because, like I said, I just don't know what they're being taught and how it's being coached. They are doing pretty good. Some of their bigger runs, other than the edge runs, were runs where they're quick hitting. They're not really on combinations. They're able to get up on people, which is interesting. Like I always enjoyed those on, some weeks where the combinations don't make sense. Like a lot of times there are combination blocks, but sometimes with how the defense is spaced, you can almost work against each other. So it's easier just to pin guys and go get the linebackers. And Atlanta gave them some of those looks, and they really did a good job with some of those. It's just the run game isn't a consistent force, I feel like. And that's something, you're going to have to improve on. I think they did, they have like 119 on the ground this week or something?
Yeah. Yeah, but it was at like, I think 3 a carry.
It was like 3 a carry, which, that's, you want to see that at 4 yards a carry. And you get 4 yards a carry for, 30 rushes, that's 120 yards. And, hopefully you're going to have some more in there if you're moving. If you're having 4 yards a carry, you're usually going to have a bigger one in there to help boost that. One thing I did really love was Tonga.
So I wanted to ask you about this. Tonga.
I love Tonga on the short yards. That was a good play design.
Put him in motion, too.
Put him in motion, get him moving. He did a great job sealing it, 3rd and 1, a really good run. And that's something I want to see more of, even maybe not on short yardage, like just get him in there, give a little bit of a wrinkle, figure out if he can, we did it with a Landon Roberts in 19.
Threw him the ball you're talking about?
Yeah. We threw him the ball, but he was playing a lot of fullback for us.
You go back, Richard Seymour was doing it. They would have Seymour and Vrabel on the field at the same time.
So, maybe even, not even short yardage, but figure out a way to, construct that into the game plan. I'm not talking about 20 plays a game, but give him a few. See what
4 or
he do.
5.
I don't know. I love Tonga. I love what Tonga's done on the defensive side of the ball, and then he won my heart yesterday with that.
Well, credit to him. So he said that, I think it was Andrew Callahan that had this, that was a front, like Atlanta came out in a front that they hadn't really worked on.
Yeah.
So he had to kind of on the fly figure out what he was supposed to do.
He did a great job doing it.
Yeah.
He really blasted in there, sealed off the backside guy, and, it just created a wide open hole. So I like that. Tonga's winning my best free agent. Well, Diggs, but I've loved watching Tonga play.
In the red zone, especially, because they're having some trouble in the red zone. You put that guy in the gap, and you can open.
And you can still
up.
do stuff with play action, different things like, even if it's sometimes like getting into like substituted personnel, like and let him just be like a blocking. I don't know how good he is at blocking, but I don't know.
I would say he's 6'2", 335. He's athletic. He's for his size. He's not immobile.
I'm interested to see if that becomes more of a. Staple's not the right word, but using him in different situations.
More of an option.
Yes.
More of an option. One specific run play I want to ask you about was in the fourth quarter. It was a first down, and they run an outside toss that got blown up to Travion Henderson. And we've seen him go to that look a few times now the last couple of weeks where they motion Pop Douglas back across, toss away from the motion. Our team's just not buying that motion right now.
So what happened, you didn't get it was to the left, right? They were running to the left. So, yeah, I remember this play. They the most important part of a crack play is getting the crack started. And that was one, Mac Hollins, who's done a phenomenal job on a lot of these and in the blocking, overall for this football team. He just didn't get the DN started, didn't get the crack started. And it's really on crack plays to be successful. It's getting the crack started and getting the backside cut off. When they're able to do that, those plays have been really successful for them. And we talked about that last week on the one. Travion went up the right-handed side, the visitor sideline for 20-something yards. And, I'd been on the guy's backside. Well, Jared Wilson did a great job getting up to the backside linebacker. So that goes back to cutting the defense, right? And, you can do that a lot of different ways. And the crack plays are one of those, right? Because you just seal that defense and you get, your best players in space. So that was one, just DN did a great job. Maybe had a tail, but he really just blew it up. And, Travion didn't even have an option right there.
So that's the middle portion of the game. So we're going to kind of go chronologically, bounce around a little bit, but they are able to get a stop, get the ball back, finish, get the first down. What does that say about the team that, 28 and 29 minutes is snowballing on them? They're scrambling. Christian Gonzalez leaves the game, right? You lose one of your best players. It's all booty. It all feels like it's coming down. And then they're able to still make, 3-4 plays at the end to win it.
Yeah. I would have liked to see him end it in the first 4-minute drive.
Right.
Because they got it, Atlanta
they got it back
with,
in 3.
3 minutes left or something?
4:40.
Yeah. So Atlanta got it back. And
great punt by Behringer, by the way, on that one.
Atlanta gets it back, and defense comes up big and stops. And that was the drive with the whole clapping debacle.
So I don't know if you want to get to that now or do that.
Let's do it since we're doing it chronologically.
Okay. So for people who haven't seen this, Raheem Morris, Michael Penix, after the game on the intentional grounding, basically said the reason that play was a mess was the center, whose name I'm blanking on, I apologize.
Dahlman. Dahlman's
No,
with,
it's not Dahlman.
Yeah,
it's
Dahlman's
somebody
with
else.
Whatchamacallit, Chicago.
Yeah. Heard a clap, and that Penix said they were going on a clap count, or when he was clapping, he wanted the ball, and that's why he was snapped early. If you go back and look at the replay, nobody up front's clapping. Jalen Hawkins is maybe doing a little to Carlton Davis, trying to get his attention, but it's 13 yards away. You usually don't see defensive delay of game called on a secondary player. Just as a center in that moment, what do you think happened?
So if you look, they're not going on the like you see in college.
It's not the big,
which that drives me insane. That's another day.
You got to talk to Felger about that. He hates the clap count.
It's ridiculous. This is football, not patty cake. But Georgia does it, so I guess I'm forced.
I mean, who doesn't at this point?
But so, you can see on that play, the right guard, they do the tap system with the guard. Now, we didn't do the tap system a lot. Few reasons for that. Tom wanted direct communication with me, especially on the road, because there was a lot of times motions are built in, you want to snap it at a certain point in the motion. So we had different snap cadences, on the road, in different tempos of the head bob and different things. So that's why he wanted it with me. So one, he could get my attention, right, if he needed something. Two, if he wanted the ball real quickly and it was on that snap count to time up a motion, he could get the ball. So that's why we always use that. Now, in saying that, there are different philosophies, because then your most important player directing traffic has his head down, which that, provided a lot of challenges. Early in my career with Shaq and Joe Tooney on each side, I always felt really comfortable because they did a great job communicating with me, right, and understanding. We just played together, and so even if something changed where I didn't see it, we just all knew how to react to each other. Now, Atlanta's doing it so the center can see direct traffic, the guard taps. So what he's talking about, a lot of times, if the play clock's winding down, which I didn't see, what that scenario was, the quarterback will just start doing that because he wants the ball. To try to get a flag on Jalen Hawkins, when we would practice for a home game, right, during practice.
And just for their Penix points at Hawkins. So that's, I think, what they thought it was.
So when you're at playing at home for the Patriots, the offense in practice, there'd be no music out there, right? Because you're playing at home, you can communicate, you can scream and yell at each other. when the defense would practice, they would crank up the music, right? Because now at home field advantage, defense, they're going to be forced to communicate differently than they would on the road. So, yeah, you would see, especially in the secondary where, you're yelling to a guy 15 yards away with the crowd noise, he's not going to hear you. It's different when, like, 2D tackles are talking, but, like, you'll even see, like, linebackers, like, sometimes, like, clapping at the D lineman to get their attention. So, I don't think that was – Jalen Hawkins was not intentionally trying to snap the football.
No, definitely not.
Because, one, they're not going off the clap to begin with. So why would he be clapping to simulate a snap count in the first place? And then, that's a form of communication, like when you need to get a guy's attention to point, whatever it may be. So, but then, the ball gets snapped, the right guard's looking back, and Bill Williams is, a bat out of hell at the quarterback, which isn't good for that team. So, really, good job by the defense to bow their neck because, at that point, I think they were like at midfield, right?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, right around midfield. So you got to get really, 20 yards to
one
feel,
or two first downs.
Yeah, like let's say 20 yards to feel somewhat okay. Now you're probably feeling shaky since he just missed the extra point, but, to possibly win the game. And so the defense does a great job, gets the ball stopped, and then obviously getting out Hunter Henry, finishing the game, getting down. Like I said, to me, when you're looking at the good, you go fast start.
Yep.
And then how they finish the game, because that's all that matters at the end of the day. So, they showed some resiliency in that to finish the game. Because it wasn't an easy day.
So Pats Bucks.
Yes.
Kayshon Boutte banged up in this game. We're recording this Monday morning, so we don't have any update yet, but was pulled with a hamstring injury. I know you like the fight the receiver showed against the Falcons. Yeah. What would Boutte's loss mean, and who needs to step up with him out?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big loss. He's obviously, he's had a lot of impact with these explosive plays. Seems like someone that Drake really trusts. Kyle Williams at the end of the game, I think they tried to run a slant with him.
Yeah.
And Drake's been playing so well that when something like that happens, he threw it, well behind him. Not like missed his shoulder. Like I'm talking about very big separation.
It was, yeah.
Like something looked wrong there, whether he didn't like the route, whatever it may be. Just Drake's been playing so good that when you see that, you go to more the receiver than you do Drake. You know what I mean? And
earn the benefit of the doubt at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like Tom, not comparing Drake and Tom, but like, a good quarterback misses a throw really badly. You're like, something might have been off with that route there. So, it's going to be a loss. Now, in saying that, Tampa's also dealing with some injuries. The O-line's beat up, missing Mike Evans. I don't know what Godwin's situation is. But one thing about Tampa is Tampa finds ways to win. You watch these games and they're gritty, and I think a lot of that comes from the quarterback.
Yeah.
Like gritty, tough-nosed quarterback, and they just find ways to win. I think this is, other than the Buffalo game, this is the biggest challenge. You look at this Bucs team, and granted, you maybe feel a little bit worse about them than you did a few weeks ago with the injuries. But this is still going to be a playoff football team in the NFC. And so I'm excited to see it. It's again, like the Falcons, it's a team you're not familiar with. You don't play them a lot. Last time we played them, they had Tom Brady as their quarterback. So it's going to be a big challenge. Going down there, heat's going to be involved,
Is it the same as Miami, or is it kind of a different?
It's hot. I mean, it's going to be hot and humid. It's coastal. I remember even going down there. We went down there early in 2017.
It was a Thursday night game, right? Yeah.
Whiteout game for us. I like those uniforms. But that it was still hot. I got an IV after the game, just drained. So, it's going to be a big challenge. It's another good tester. And what I'm most interested to see is how they respond this week. Hopefully they go into practice this week. They got to fire up their ass. They're ready to go, and have a great week of practice. and come out looking like the football team they have recently. Because like I said, Tampa's going to make it tough on you.
Yeah.
And playing down there, the environment, the weather, that stuff, it's one of those places like, who knows? It could be, 88 and humid and then a 30-minute rain shot. You don't know what it's going to be like. So be a good game, tough game. And like I said, hopefully you see the team clean it up and you feeling a lot better moving forward. And it's not one of those, oh no, we're regressing a little bit here.
Do you think, against a good team, do you think that you can come out, even if they lose the game, you can come out with that feeling that they're not regressing?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, you go.
Obviously, the goal is to win, but.
Yes. No, and there's no moral victories.
Sure.
In anything. But, you go down there and, like I said, Tampa's coming off a bye. Sometimes those can be tricky. Some teams look really good coming off the bye. Some teams struggle because when you're in the flow of the season, you're just going. And sometimes it disrupts you a little bit. Like, it's nice, but it can.
Yeah.
But, you go down there, you play your ass off, and you come out of the game and you look like, man, like, one play at the end of the game, have a chance to win the game and don't do it. Like, you feel better about your football team versus, all right, we go down there. Even if they win again like this, like it's kind of sitting here right now, like,
yeah,
great, they won. But that's just not a sustaining formula, versus you go down there, you play really good, lose a tight game. Like, hey, we just got to correct these few things, and that's a win column. So,
like you said, this is one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah,
this is a team that could go to the Super Bowl from the NFC.
Yeah, I would say, especially if you, look, injuries. And I will say this, like, hats off to the Pats training staff, weight room, those guys in there, because we've been a relatively healthy football team. And some of that's luck. Like,
right.
It just is what it is. Like, but, other than Kayshawn, and hopefully it's not bad. Hopefully it's just a tweak, and it's one of those things where it's like, hey, 2 weeks, he's back, and it's not a Christian Gonzalez or,
right,
whatever. Like, hopefully it's like, hey, tweaked it a little bit. If he goes back out there, we could be at a 6-week thing versus a 2-week thing. So, we'll see how that progresses. But, they've been relatively healthy. The Bucs have been banged up, and that doesn't take away from what they've done. But, it changes the way I look at it.
It's part of the game. Injuries are part of the game.
Like,
it always will be.
They had a really good O-line. They've been banged up. So, you're just like, man, that's going to be hard to sustain throughout the year. But, like, this is a playoff team, a contending team. They're going to probably win that division. Like, it's a great test and a great opportunity for this football team.
We'll be back next Monday to break it all down. You can find more of these shows, Patriots Hub Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, Sports Hub YouTube channel. We have the reaction from myself and Matt Dolph up from last night. We'll have some trade deadline stuff on, too, if the Patriots make any moves Tuesday night into Wednesday. But until next one, David Andrews going to go on with Zolak and Bertrand. You can catch that at 11 o'clock every Monday. For David Andrews, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
See you guys.